Did you know NATO wasn't the only military alliance during the Cold War? The Soviet Union had its own version, the Warsaw Pact. But was it really about defense or there was a deeper motive? After World War II, Europe was divided into two sides. The western side, led by US, created NATO in 1949 to oppose the Soviet Union. When NATO allowed West Germany to join in 1955, the USSR saw this as a threat. In response, the Soviet Union formed the Warsaw Pact with 8 communist countries: the USSR, Poland, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Albania. Officially, it was a defense alliance meant to protect its member states from the Western aggression. But in reality, it was meant to keep Soviet control over the Eastern Europe and stop countries from leaving communism. Warsaw Pact members had to follow Soviet military orders. The USSR made all the major military decisions, and Soviet troops were stationed in many member countries. The pact also made sure all members used similar weapons and training so they could fight together if needed. But instead of fighting outside enemies, it was mostly used to stop uprising within its own border. In 1956, Hungary tried to break free from Soviet control and leave the Warsaw Pact. Protesters demanded democracy, but the Soviet response was brutal. Tanks rolled into Budapest and thousands were killed or arrested. In 1968, Czechoslovakia introduced democratic reforms during the Prague Spring, allowing more freedom of speech and press. To this, Warsaw Pact responded by sending 500,000 troops to remove leaders and crush the movement. This led to Brezhnev Doctrine, which said the USSR had the right to step in if an communist country strayed from the Soviet ideology. This showed that the pact was more about maintaining Soviet control than the actual defense. It was about keeping communism in power and stopping any move towards democracy. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was in trouble. Its economy was failing and people in Eastern Europe started pushing for democracy. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, showing communism in Eastern Europe was collapsing. In 1990, East Germany left the pact after uniting with West Germany, and in 1991, one by one countries left the pact. On the July 1st, 1991, the Warsaw Pact officially ended. The Soviet Union collapsed soon after. Ironically, many former Warsaw Pact nations later joined the NATO, proving that force alliances don't last. The end of the Warsaw Pact also marked the end of the Cold War. The Warsaw Pact was supposed to be a defense alliance, but it was really a way for Soviet Union to control its neighbor. In the end, both the Pact and Soviet Union fell apart. Do you think it was ever a real alliance or was it just about power? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.